Actually, I wrote that down. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome, my replay viewers. Welcome, my live viewers. Welcome to Trauma is Defeated, because trauma is defeated one step at a time. I'm Ramona Phillips, the Healthy Mind Strategist. And what I do is I help people to manage their symptoms from trauma. That's the feelings, the thoughts, the sensations, the impulses. That's called the temper. We want to have healthier relationships. We want to make healthier choices so that we can have more peace of mind, okay? So what I'm doing tonight is I'm going to talk a little bit about families, but I want you guys to know that you're not alone. We have all been through some form of trauma. All been through some form of trauma, which is deeply distressing, disturbing experiences. Welcome, Lorraine. Hey, Lorraine, how you doing, sweetie? What's up, girl? We've all been through trauma. All of us. All of us. Deeply distressing, disturbing experiences. Let me see something. I'm not seeing my comments. Want to know who's watching your live video? Swipe to see if your viewers. Excuse me for a minute. I'm just gonna. I haven't been really seeing my comments. Don't tell me to swipe left. You won't know. Hey, Calvin, how you doing? What's up? Welcome, live viewers. Welcome, Periscope viewers. I'm Ramona Phillips, the Healthy Mind Strategist. So I'm just going to reset myself. Hi, sweetie. I couldn't see all the comments the last time. So if you guys think I'm ignoring you, I'm not ignoring you. I don't know what's going on. I already enabled my notifications, and I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm going to reset myself. Welcome to Trauma is Defeated, because trauma is defeated one step at a time. What I do is I help people to manage their symptoms from trauma. That's the feelings, the thoughts, the sensations, and the impulses. That's the temper, okay? We want to make healthier choices. We want to have healthier relationships, and we all want more peace of mind, don't we? It's time for us to begin to own our stories, stand on our stories, and stop being ashamed of our stories. It happened, or it didn't happen, or she wasn't there, or she left, or she died, or he wasn't there, or he left, or dad wasn't there, or mom wasn't there, or we saw some things that was very distressing for us. I saw my mother in abusive relationships. That was very distressing for me, and that did affect me as I was growing up. So trauma can cause depression, anxiety, panic attacks. It depends on the severity of the trauma. But a lot of times what we do is we walk around in shame, hiding the trauma or the feelings affiliated with the trauma, or the triggers affiliated with the trauma. We hide that from other people, and we even hide it from ourselves. And then something comes up and that triggers that old pain or that old disappointment, and then we're either acting out in anger or self-sabotaging, or before you know it, here comes self-pity, and before you know it, we're depressed. I told you guys I was burned as a baby. I was hit by a car as a baby. Like I said, I saw my mother in abusive relationships. And at 15 years old, my mother's ex-boyfriend decided he was going to murder her oldest daughter because she broke up with him. And guess who the oldest daughter was? Me. 15 years old. He came through my bedroom window and stabbed me 3 times while I was sleeping and left me for dead. So I grew up not feeling safe. A lot of us who experience trauma, we realize something happens. And a lot of times we end up living our lives from day to day in fear. And we don't feel safe. But if we take responsibility for the way we feel, if we begin to stop running from our feelings and allow ourselves to feel, stop stuffing our feelings, then we can identify what the feeling is. We have to begin to identify, what is this feeling? Because if we're not feeling peaceful, we need to know what is going on. Am I feeling tired, exhausted? Am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Maybe that's why I'm getting triggered. Or am I starting to feel a little oppressed or sad? Where's this sadness coming from? Am I angry? Where's this anger coming from? Or am I feeling a little insecure, a little jealous? Am I feeling envious? Where's these feelings coming from? Am I feeling grandiose? Am I feeling like I'm better than other people? Am I beginning to feel arrogant? Where's these feelings coming from? It's important that we acknowledge the feelings. Try to identify where they're coming from, because many times they come up from triggers. There's a trigger. Okay, so we have to be willing to identify the feelings, take responsibility for the feelings, own them so that they can pass. If we're angry, admit that you're angry. And if you know why you're angry, admit that, own that too. And then start thinking positive thoughts about it. Try to take a closer look at the situation and stop and think, is it worth giving away my mental health? Because when we lose our peace and we don't face our feelings and we deny them and we walk around in shame and we're giving away too much, giving away our power to people, places, and things, then we're not going to be peaceful. And it's the same as giving away our mental health. It's very important that we know how to value our mental health. It's time to value our mental health, not just walk around from day to day surviving. We've survived some stuff, some terrible experiences. We all have our stories, but God wants us to live and enjoy life and stop walking around feeling afraid and scared, waiting for the next ball to drop. Hey, Andre, waiting for the next ball to drop because we've already survived some terrible experiences already. It's time to live. It's time to own our power with people, places, and things, whatever that may be. Wherever it may be. Remember, a lot of times when we get triggered, it's some feeling, it's some impulse. It's something that comes up in our emotions. And it's our responsibility to manage our emotions and not allow our emotions to run us all over the place. I told you guys I suffered from depression on and off for many years, anxiety and panic attacks. And one day God began to show me that I could control it, that I can manage what is not completely healed. Then I can learn to manage it. Pay attention to my feelings. God started showing me, pay attention to how you feel and take responsibility for it. Don't just sit in it. A lot of times we wake up and we feeling sad. Just because we wake up in the morning feeling a little insecure, feeling a little anxious, does not mean that we have to focus on any type of negative thoughts all throughout the day. We can own our power. We can take responsibility for our thinking. We're supposed to think on things that are good and pure and perfect and lovely and of good report. Yeah, some bad things has happened, but some good things has happened to us too. So we can stop and think about the good. Welcome. How you doing? Hey, how you doing? Welcome. Anyway, I had to block someone. I usually don't focus on blocking people, but I decided to block this guy because I'm on Periscope as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about coping with family. Coping with family. Hey, cuz, what's up, Toda? I'm going to talk about coping with family. Okay, because like I said, we have to own our power. We have to remember how important it is that we own our power and that we value our mental health. And sometimes we give way too much of our power away to people, especially people that are closest to us. That can be a relative, a friend, it could be a coworker, it could be your boss, whomever. But tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about families. how important it is that we own our power, because people have weaknesses. A lot of people are functioning out of their survival mindset, which causes them sometimes to be manipulative and controlling when they're afraid, when they're not feeling safe. Remember, I'm talking about trauma. The effects of trauma sometimes makes us behave out of character or behave in dysfunctional ways. And a lot of us saw a lot of dysfunction growing up. Okay, so it's our responsibility to pay attention to the way we're feeling so we can take responsibility for the way we're behaving. Because we already knows where the mind goes. Where the mind goes, energy flows, or where the mind goes, we're going to step out, and that's how we're going to behave. If we're feeling a little insecure, we're going to behave in an insecure manner. If jealousy comes up, it's a possibility we might get passive aggressive or act out on that jealousy. But God wants us to acknowledge it and say, whoa, wait a minute, I am enough. I don't have to compare myself to anybody. I'm fearfully, wonderfully, and marvelously made. I am a daughter of God, created in the image and likeness of God. There's only one me, so who am I comparing myself to? It's a deception. It's a mindset. It's a belief system that came up, that we adopted from our past, or from the past trauma, or from being abused, or being manipulated or controlled, or somebody speaking down to us, saying things to us that made us feel like we weren't good enough. But regardless of how we were treated, regardless of what our past looked like, regardless of what we experienced, what we went through, that has nothing to do with our worth and value. That did not take away anything. That did not take away our worth and value. We have great worth. See you, sweetie. Yeah. That did not take away, and that's what happened. A lot of times we start feeling worthless because of our past experiences, or because of what we saw. Anything that needs to be healed, God still wants to heal it. And at the same time, He wants us to be teachable and willing to change for the sake of our mental health, because God wants us to experience greater abundance. We already have some abundance, but God wants us to have greater abundance. Jesus came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. Okay? So coping with families, owning our power with people, places, and things. We've been in those relationships and we realized we gave away too much power. I've been married twice. My first husband was alcoholic, and he was in an accident, and he eventually died. But still, when we were together, there was times when I gave away too much of my power, because I was waiting for him to change. You know how we get to waiting for people to change, and they don't change? People have to want to change. Want to. And we don't want to sit around waiting for people to change. We want to allow people to be who they are and where they are, and still love them unconditionally. Some of those relationships, depending on the relationship, some we stay and some we have to let go. And a lot of times when we take responsibility for the way we feel, how do we feel in that relationship? That can be with a friend or a lover or whatever. How are we feeling in that relationship? Are we getting our needs met? Do we feel valued in that relationship? Are we just waiting around, hoping and praying that one day our needs will be met? Are you giving so much of yourself and you realize you're depleted and you're not getting much back? Because we're important too. We're important too. My second husband had borderline personality disorder. It was like living with two people. And some things he remembered and some things he didn't. He would shift whenever he was afraid, whenever he got triggered. Whatever triggered his trauma from his childhood. His father was a police officer and treated him really bad because he didn't stay with his mother. You know how you take it out on the child? That's a sad thing when people do that. So he would sometimes go into a rage when he felt unsafe and he felt like he couldn't control. So important that we value our mental health. Take back our power. So I'm going to read a page from The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beattie. Talk a little bit about that and then I'm out, okay? Coping with families, because it's very important that we do not allow our family members and loved ones or anybody mistreat us or control or manipulate us just because you're my sister, my brother, my uncle, my aunt, my mother. I had a good relationship with my mother, but there was sometimes when she was in her trauma mindset, when she would act out in fear or insecurities, then sometimes she would act out and say and do some things. And when I became an adult, I had to work my recovery and show her what was acceptable and what was not acceptable. And that, because of that, we had an even better relationship. But there was times when I used to be afraid to speak up. How many of us are adults and we're still afraid to speak up? There are many paths to self-care with families because we have the right to take care of ourselves, especially with those closest to us. Some people choose to sever connections with family members for a period of time, so depending on what's going on in the relationship. Some people choose to stay connected with family members and learn different behaviors. So I had to work on that with some of my loved ones. Some disconnect for a time, then return slowly on different bases. There is no one or perfect way to deal with members of our family. It is up to each of us to choose a path that suits us and our needs at each point in time. The idea that is new to us in recovery is that we can choose. We can choose. I told you guys I spent 28 days in the Tampa Bay, Florida rehab in 1992. And one thing that got my attention that made me get with the program was I realized I had choices. So the idea that is new to us is that we can choose, that we have choices. We could choose not to be doormats. We can choose to take our time and get to know people instead of jumping from relationship to relationship and setting ourselves up to be heartbroken. But I'm talking about families tonight. Okay, we can set the boundaries we need to set with family members. We can choose a path that works for us without guilt and obligation or undue influence from any source, including professionals. How many people, especially like over, 60, are giving their doctors way too much power? They won't even question their doctors. They won't even question it. The doctor says take this, they just stuck on that. They're not getting no second opinions or nothing. And some people are being used as guinea pigs for every new medication that comes out, as if they don't realize that they have choices. And some of them are on medications in other words, some of them and some medications they can be rid of and just do something natural. But they won't even question their doctors or get a second opinion. Our goal is to detach and love with family members. Our goal is to detach and love with family members. Our goal is to be able to take care of ourselves, love ourselves, and live healthy lives despite what family members do or don't do. It's not our job to try to fix everybody and control everybody and mold people into our image as well. And I love giving advice to my family members, and I have to catch myself sometimes, especially with my children. We decide what boundaries or decisions are necessary to do this. It's okay to say no to our families. It's okay to say no sometimes to our families when that is what we want. When that is what we want. Don't keep saying yes and then get all resentful. We say yes and then get resentful and start complaining. It's okay to say no to our families when that is what we want. It's okay to say yes to our families if that feels right. If that feels right. It's okay to call time out, and it's okay to go back as a different person. It's okay to call a time out. There's a different, you might have a disagreement or something. Some things may have changed. You might have to fall back a little bit and then come back together. Think things through. Communicate. Maybe forgive each other. Talk about some things. Whatever this is, it's just different situations. But the bottom line is we have the right to take care of ourselves, even with those closest to us. It's okay to call time out, and it's okay to go back as a different person. Learn some things, grow, and go back. God, help me choose the path that is right for me with family. Help me understand there is no right or wrong in this process. Help me strive for forgiveness and learn to detach with love whenever possible. I understand that this never implies that I have to forfeit self-care and health for the good of the system, for the good of the system, for the good of the system. We don't want to, I'm going to say that again. I understand that this never implies that I have to forfeit self-care and health for the good of the system. So some of us, we playing Superwoman and Superman, Supergirl and Superguy, whatever. We super. Now see, look, I'm the oldest daughter. Hey, Leisha, I'm the oldest daughter. So you know I had to practice setting healthy boundaries, okay? Because especially I still have 6 siblings under me, but they're all adults now. So I don't have to be super big sister. Although sometimes I think I'm kind of seen as that, but that's because I'm the big sister. They love me. They know if I can help, I'm going to help. But at the same time, I'm still going to set healthy boundaries because I don't want to be a doormat for family members and loved ones or anybody else. And there are people, even family members and loved ones, that we have helped and that took us for granted. Then we get a little, hey, sweetie. Then we get a little nervous about helping them again. Or we want to help or we choose to help, but except we just set healthy boundaries. And we let our yes mean yes and our no mean no. Because we don't want to be saying yes when we really mean no. We don't want to be saying no when we really mean yes. And then what happens? We get all, hey, Maurice, what happens? Then we get all resentful. We don't want to do that. We have every right to take care of ourselves with family members and loved ones. Every right to do that. And you know what? A lot of times people respect you more. People respect you more. It's not easy. I've had family members stop speaking to me before. I had issues. I had some problems with a few family members, a few of my younger family members. And things wasn't working out, and I had to tell them to leave. I let them stay with me for a little while. I had to tell them to leave, and hello. This was some years ago. Probably like, I don't know, 17 years ago, whatever. But people, just about my whole family was mad at me. But I stood my ground. I knew I was right. I knew I had the right to take care of myself and protect my children. So I stood my ground. And I can be a little stubborn anyway. I'm like, okay, well, if that's how it's going to be, if it's just me and God, then me and God. That's it. I'm good. And you best believe in due season, people respect you more when you stand up for what's right and stand up for yourself. In due season. I knew they was going to come around. I had a couple of situations where it seemed like the whole family was mad at me. I was like, okay. Me and Jesus. It's just me and Jesus. I'm good. Stand your ground. There are times when you got to stand your ground. Because when we switch, people don't like that. But we have the right to take care of ourselves. And many of us who have experienced trauma, it took us some time to learn that. And some of us are still learning that. And sometimes I still feel a little uncomfortable when I say no. Or no, I can't do it right now. Sometimes I still get a little nervous when I talk to one of my brothers and, he's going, sounding all authoritative. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the big sister. I could sound authoritative too. Anyway, it's about loving ourselves and taking our mental health seriously. Pay attention to our feelings. Pay attention. Allow yourself to feel and acknowledge, what is this? Remember I said that. Acknowledge the feeling. It's okay. They're just our feelings. They're our feelings. They're our feelings, and we're supposed to take responsibility for them. Stop judging them, and acknowledge, what is this? If you're not sure what it is, pray and ask God to help you. Talk to a friend, somebody trustworthy, someone you're close to that you can trust to share your feelings with, or someone that you can trust to be vulnerable with. And speak up. We have to speak up when we need to speak up. It's not dangerous to speak up. And now, if you know you're in a dangerous situation, you might have to use some wisdom. That's for sure. So use some wisdom. Use some wisdom. And be very careful, because sometimes our words can get us in trouble. We don't want to put ourselves in dangerous situations either. And uncompromising situations either. It's our job to value our mental health and take better care of ourselves. It's called self-care. Self-love, self-care. It's beautiful. Many of us who experience trauma are people that we wanted to be there for us that wasn't there for us. We was feeling unworthy, like we didn't have the right to take care of ourselves or love ourselves just because somebody didn't know how to love us the way we wanted them to love us, or just because somebody was not there for us that we wanted to be there for us, or just because someone mistreated us that didn't know how to really respect a woman or treat a man based on their trauma. Based on their trauma. A lot of times people are still trying to survive from day to day and not really living. But it's time. It's time. It's time for us to make sure we are valuing ourselves. Make sure. We have to ask ourselves, you all right? Talk to yourself. I say we got to talk to ourselves. Talk to yourselves. I tell myself, girl, you need a break. Girl, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm learning how to do it without shaming myself. Because sometimes we don't want to take a look at ourselves because we're still shaming ourselves. So we get to blaming and shaming and defending ourselves and all of that. And at the end of the day, after we finish doing all of that with family members and loved ones and friends and whomever, we still have to take a look at ourselves and say, now what you going to do? Or how you going to handle this situation? How do you feel about that? I remember T.D. Jakes said that one day. Somebody he was counseling or something was telling him a story. And then he said, he looked at him, he said, so how do you feel about that? Because that's it right there. How do we feel about whatever it is? Now, once we gather our feelings together, or once we acknowledge our feelings about what that situation or how that family member or loved one is treating you, or whomever, the relationship, whatever it is, once we take a look at how we feel about it, then we can decide, is it something that we need to deal with? Or is my feelings lying to me? We have to learn to trust ourselves now. Don't be in an unsafe situation, an unstable situation, and questioning yourself and reasoning, because we will reason ourselves right out of doing what's best for us. I have stayed in relationships that I knew was unhealthy because I reasoned myself right right, just to stay in it. Well, I started having children. I guess I'll stay a little while longer. Oh, a lot of women are good for this one. We've been together 5 years. We've been together 10 years. Might as well hang in there. Been together 12 years. Might as well hang in there. That's a lot of wasted time for a relationship that we knew was going to end after like the first year or two. How many of us done that? It's time for us to value our mental health. Value our mental health. I do apologize. I only seen like 2 comments. Hey, Cookie Sims. I only see like 2 comments, so I need to try to find out what is going on with my comments. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. I was late tonight. Actually, I'm going to be late for the next couple of weeks because I have a class that I'm taking at my church. So although my regular time is 9 o'clock, I'll be coming on somewhere between 9:45 and 10 o'clock. I'm going to push for 9:45, okay? So I'm Ramona Phillips, the Healthy Mind Strategist. I want to thank you for joining me on Trauma is Defeated, because trauma is defeated as we become teachable and we own our power and we own our stories and we take responsibility for our feelings, allowing ourselves to feel and stop running and shaming and blaming. Yep. What I do is I help people to manage their symptoms from trauma. That's the thoughts, the sensations, the feelings, the impulses. I help people have healthier relationships. I help people to make healthier choices so we can have more peace of mind, right? Today, I have a lot more peace of mind. I've learned how to trust God, first of all. Trust God more than what I was trusting Him before, because we get in trauma mindset and we try to do it all ourselves till we fall on our face, then we running back to God. Just choose God. Choose His way, His will, and His way now. Accept truth. He says the truth is what sets us free. That's what He says. I believe Him. Hey, Robin, how you doing? I'm seeing these little messages coming up. It is really weird. Anyway, I have to go. My mindset. My website is traumadefeated.com. If any of you are struggling with some symptoms, email me, because I do coach. So you want me to come and speak? Because I am a speaker as well. I am a speaker. You want me to come speak at your event? Hit me up via email. Hey, girl, hit me up via email, okay? My email is Ramona@traumadefeated.com. Ramona@traumadefeated.com, okay? I'm Ramona Phillips, the Healthy Mind Strategist. I will be back soon, very soon. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, replay viewers. Welcome, and welcome, live viewers. Have a blessed night. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Let's swipe down.